So for our movie poster project, like I said, very similar to the magazine project we did in graphic design one, but like we're gonna kick it up a little bit. So if you remember from the magazine project, we found like a picture of a person, we found a picture of a background, we found like the masthead, which was the logo, like Vogue or Entertainment Weekly or something, and we had to like merge them together. Could you hit the lights for me? Thank you. So we're going to do something pretty similar here. So hopefully you read over this a little bit already. And these are like actual movie posters, totally real. Were pictured in movie theaters and things like that. So there's a few like ingredients we need to make a really good movie poster. So what's like data, important information that you need on a movie poster? Title, definitely number one. Okay. And what'd you say? Yes, lead actors. Okay, so you're looking at Good Burger here. You got a title. You got the lead actors. What else is really important? The what? Release date. Okay, so we have the release date on here. What else? Yeah, like we need to see some kind of visual. We have to give like the viewer some kind of hint of what's going to happen in the movie because chances are they're looking at this poster before they've seen the movie. They haven't really made a decision if they're going to see it yet. Maybe they're leaving another movie. And, this is like something that kind of brings the viewer back to the movie theater. Okay? So, we have those like 4 to 5 important pieces of information, and there's also usually a tagline, and that's usually like the little saying or phrase that they have. So in Braveheart, every man dies, but not every man really lives. Okay. Those are available on IMDb, so you could just look that up. That's really not a big deal, but it's giving a lot of information. So we're going to do like a visual end of it by putting together like different photos, and then the other part of the equation is that we're going to make our own logo for the movie poster. So if you were to do Good Burger, you can't just like copy the Good Burger logo from the internet. You're going to make your own version. Um, you're also going to take like at least 2 photos and work them together to create like the visual element for the poster as well. The one thing that I'm definitely not going to make you do is, how there's like fine print at the bottom of all of these posters? You don't need to do that. Not important. That's like all of like the kind of production information, and we're going to just skip over that part. It's not important for what we're doing here. But the other 5 points I talked about, that's going to be the important stuff today. Do you have any questions about that stuff so far? So I know when I was out, I had you look up some certain things, but we'll go over some of the requirements. So it's going to be 8.5 by 14, which is considered legal size. It's a tad bit longer than your standard printer paper, so it'll probably be a little bit kind of like that maybe. I looked up the actual dimensions of a movie poster, and they're like a yard wide and like 40 something inches long. So I was like, let's not do that in Photoshop because I don't want it to crash. So we're going to work smaller. Okay. And we talked about the 5 important things we're going to need. Okay. I figured the first like few days we're going to work more on the photo, the visual part. And then after that, when we make our logo, it's usually easier to make those in Illustrator because like when you're dealing with text, you just get like so many more options. So we'll be able to make a logo in Illustrator and we'll just drag it into place it into Photoshop, which won't be too difficult. I promise. It'll be our nice little transition into Illustrator. Friendly reminder too. So we want to make sure whatever movie we pick, like I understand, we're not all going to pick like a G-rated movie or PG-rated movie, but you just want to make sure you're picking something where they're not depicting like drugs, alcohol, violent weapons, things of that nature. So, I understand like I feel like the only one you can kind of get away with that is Braveheart with the sword because it's like historical. But just keep that in mind with what you're picking. Now we've got our grading on here as well. Okay. And I'm going to pass out a little worksheet today. And I was just going to have you make like a rough, very rough sketch to figure out how you want everything to look. So my worksheet pretty much reminds you of the 5 pieces you need for your poster. And then I just made like 2 squares on the back to plan. So instead of me just drawing it because I feel like that's not as exciting to watch, I'm just going to maybe use a tablet for a minute to kind of sketch with you, and we'll make it really fast. Oh, way too big. Forgive me. There we go. Actually, I'll make it my 14. All right, I'll get my tablet. Perfect. Okay, so when you go to start sketching out your idea, I want you to actually look up photos of your actual movie poster, because we need to figure out like what photos are actually available out there that you could start to work and mush together. So I think I'm going to base mine on Good Burger because I was starting to look up some pictures before. I think I'm going to do Good Burger 1 because I haven't seen Good Burger 2 yet, and I don't really know what's in it. So I would recommend picking a movie you've seen. I think it will be a lot easier for you. So try and stick with that first. So, like I said, you need to have at least like 2 photos you're putting together. You could do more, whatever you need. So I can't just take this picture from the last poster because that's from the last poster. I'm not going to copy it. But perhaps I want to do something like with these 2 guys, and I'm going to work like a different kind of background in here. So when I go to like plan out my design, use a paintbrush. And I have Keenan and Kel kind of back to back. So here's what I'm looking for when you start to like sketch. I'm not looking for photorealism here, but you kind of have to just plan out the space. So even if you're drawing them kind of like stick figures like this, and I'm using them in kind of like blocks to show like, oh, I want to show that's his chest, that's his body. And it looked like their arms were kind of crossed like that. And then we kind of had Keenan over here, kind of the same premise. And its arms are crossed. This actually isn't that bad. So I'm looking more for kind of like a higher end stick figure. And I have a lot of dead space at the bottom, so I'm kind of disappointed in that. And the other thing, guys, another annoying thing is, like, since it's cut off at the bottom, I probably have to move this, like, drawing all the way to the bottom. So that way we can, like, their bottoms aren't just, like, totally cut off. So ideally I'd have to move it like this, but... Or maybe I could push it to the bottom here, and, like, what's some of the information I can put at the bottom as well? Yeah. Let's look at some of those samples and decide where the other information should go. Zoom out a little bit.
Wait, so we're not actually using actual pictures?
You're going to use actual pictures, but I don't want you to copy the one directly from the existing movie poster. Okay? Yep. So you're going to use pictures from the internet, just not the ones that are already on the existing poster. Okay? So most of these posters, it looks like the title is closer to the bottom here. So that's where I would put my logo. And I would have to decide how I want that to look. Like, maybe I'm going to have something like... Ooh, that's an O. Good. And then maybe I'm going to put like a burger in the middle. That's going to be part of my logo. And maybe I'm going to make it more of a blocky font. Doesn't look half bad. Okay. So then what else should I put on there? What other information should I put at the top now? Actors. So in this case, it looks like it's just Keenan and Kel. Keenan Thompson. Or maybe some of them do it like this, where they kind of do different lines. And then maybe I'll put like Kel Mitchell. And what other? So taglines tend to fall like up here somewhere, even with Shrek. So maybe I'll put like my tagline up here. I don't remember what it is right now, but I'll just put like tagline. And what can I do for my background, since this background was like really plain? they're kind of back to back holding those burgers. What could we put in like the background?
Honestly, the way that you set it up, like I feel like instead of having like the legs cut off, you put like a restaurant counter, so they're behind the counter.
That's a really cool idea. I am totally down with that. Let's put a counter. So I like it. I'm down. I'm going to just list counter right now for the sake of the demo, but I'm okay if you making that a counter. I think that's an awesome idea. Yeah, and then I could have moved them up a little bit. That's like their counter. And then maybe behind, I'm sure they've got like I got to look for like a soda machine or something like that. Whatever like the back of the counter looks like could work out really nicely too. So our plan for like, I think in this case, I think we just need today to work on it, is to work on our sketch. And on your sketch sheet, I have 2 rectangles. You could do the same movie both times, just draw it differently. You could pick 2 different movies. I have no preference. You do you. You decide what's going to work better for you. I know you guys had already saved some photos ahead of time. So I would look at those photos and I would try and work those into the reference. One more thing. I forgot to put the premiere date. So that's usually at the bottom in theaters. In theaters, July. Any questions so far? So my plan is this. You got the whole period. By the end of the period, I want to just like look at your sketches to check and make sure we're good. If you found some photos you like, in the meantime, save them to your computer. I would make like a pictures folder. So that way you have them. Save extra because you don't have to use all of them. And we're going to take it from there. I know I didn't draw it very well, but I want to see how your logo is going to look. So I want you to take some time like drawing the logo on your movie poster too. Any questions so far? All right.